So, you want to scare your players. You want to induce that spine-tingling sensation you get when you think you're near death. Or put the pits in their stomach when they realize there's no way out. It's not an easy task. Genuinely scaring people when you come together to play pretend seems almost impossible. The generally jovial energy when friends get together is hard to overcome. You need them to buy into the idea of a horror one-shot. You need a low barrier to entry and some way to set the mood without being heavy-handed. And I happen to have the perfect way to do so. And the answer is not Dungeons & Dragons. Because while Dungeons & Dragons is a fun system, it lacks the core mechanics that genuinely build fear and tension. Death saves come close, but they are nothing compared to the game that I want to introduce to you tonight. For this game, you don't need textbooks or character sheets. You don't need spell cards or initiative trackers. You don't even need dice. All you need is a block tower of an indeterminate brand. That's right, we're talking about Dread, the horror RPG that was popularized by Geek and Sundry, but designed by Epidiah Ravachol and Nathaniel Barmore. On so many different levels, this game is brilliant. It perfectly captures horror as a genre into game mechanics. It's easy to learn, it's easy to run, and it's easy to use to terrify your friends. But before we discuss why it's so brilliant, we need to know how to play. So here's the rundown. The host or game master creates a questionnaire to help the players create their characters. The questions should be about the characters' pasts, backstories, relationships, goals, and dreams. You know, so we can crush them. There's no need to pick any class, race, or background. Just answer the questions. Then stack the tower and remove 3 blocks for every player to a maximum of 5 players. The game plays like most RPGs. The host or game master describes the setting and events while the players declare what they want to do. If and when the players decide they want to do something challenging, like something outside their realms of experience, or something under intense pressure, they're going to need to pull a block from the tower and place it on top. And there are a few ways that this can shake out. If the player successfully pulls the block, then their character shares in that success and completes whatever they were trying to do. If they refuse or abandon their pull, then their character fails whatever they were attempting, but not in a way that would be lethal. But if the tower collapses, the player fails their task, and they are removed from the game. The Quick Start Guide offers a charming list as to how characters can be removed from the game. If the story isn't concluded by the time the tower falls, then you can restack the tower with the same rules at the start. Only 3 more blocks need to be pulled for every character that has been removed from the game. And while there are some more minor details, those are the most important rules. It's a simple system, one you can learn, prepare, and play all in one evening. There are no complicated rules interactions, there's only one book, and there's no math. And yet, in terms of game design, it is one of my favorite games I've ever played. Using a block tower as a core mechanic for a horror game is brilliant in so many different ways. Because despite what you often see in movies, the heart of horror isn't gore or jump scares or monsters. It's tension. There are a lot of different ways to create tension and suspense. I did a whole video on it that you can watch after this one. But for horror, the central question is usually, will the characters make it out of this situation alive? The tension needs to be sparked and the stakes need to be set. You and some friends are spending a weekend in a cabin in the woods. Everything's going great until suddenly your phones go out and your car won't start. From there, the tension needs to slowly climb. Despite these issues, you decide to go to bed. It's late and these problems can wait till tomorrow. But then a few hours later, you're awoken by the floorboards creaking as heavy footfalls make their way towards your door. They're accompanied by this ragged, inhumane breathing. And then the threat needs to make itself clear. A beast straight out of your nightmares appears in the hallway and you rush to barricade the door. Pull a block. You're successful for now, but this monster is not giving up. It is throwing itself against the door and you can hear the wood splintering. The only way out of this room is the window. You either need to jump or you need to climb. Pull another block. You exit the window and land on the ground safely just as you hear the door from upstairs burst open and glass shatter as the monster reaches through the window after you. It sees you and it is coming after you. Whether you run or hide, you will need to pull a block. It's a simple game loop with simple mechanics. But the reason you can't do this in Dungeons and Dragons is when you roll a d20, that doesn't make the next time you roll a die riskier. Each block, and therefore each challenge, becomes more difficult and more stressful and more potentially lethal than the last. It slowly and naturally ramps up the game's tension just by playing it. One of my favorite RPG experiences ever was running Dread for the first time with my friends. We were deep into the game and the tower hadn't fallen yet. Everyone was still alive, but one character had to face a particularly dangerous challenge, and he needed to pull 3 blocks to survive. And while the tower was still up, it wasn't exactly stable. Our hearts were collectively pounding as we waited to see whether or not our friend would survive this encounter. If it weren't for the suitably tense music I was playing, you would have been able to hear a pin drop as everyone was paying every ounce of their attention to whether or not this tower was going to fall. My friend pulled a block and the tower wobbled, but then he put it on top and he pulled another block and he pulled another, and the tower stayed standing. There was momentary relief, but we all knew that this victory had come at a cost. There was no way that tower was staying up for much longer. The level of tension in that moment was unlike anything I have ever experienced in an RPG. No D&D game, no epic boss battle has ever come close to matching that night. At least not for me. Building tension is a cornerstone of the craft of storytelling, as well as a core building block of horror as a genre. It can be a difficult thing to achieve, but Dread makes it much easier than it usually is. And while this video was all about Dread, you can create tension and suspense in D&D. In fact, I made a whole video about it that you can watch here. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the little notification bell so you get notified whenever I make a new video. My Dark Patron would also like me to announce that you can now become a channel member. It comes with loyalty badges, early access to videos, and a couple other cool perks. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe.